Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fairfield County SCORE's webinar, How to Align a Business Plan with Your Online Sales Strategy. I'm Tim Ryan, a business mentor here at Fairfield County SCORE, and I'll be your host. Our speaker today is Ed Winslow. More on Ed in just a minute. First, let me give you some info on SCORE. SCORE is funded by a grant from the Small Business Administration, so all our services are completely free of charge. There's about 300 SCORE offices nationwide with about 10,000 volunteers. Fairfield County SCORE is one of the largest and highest rated chapters in the nation, with over 100 volunteers comprising a wide range of expertise. We offer 3 value-added services to small businesses, which are all accessible from our website at fairfieldcounty.score.org. First, we provide free one-on-one counseling. Second, we produce over 100 educational workshops and webinars each year like this one. And third, we have extensive resources and tools on our website, including templates to help you build your business plan. So let's get started. If you have a question during the webinar, please use the chat box located in the lower part of your screen. To respect your time, our webinar will end promptly at 1 o'clock. This session is being recorded and the link to the recording will be available on our website within the next couple of days. Now to our speaker. Ed Winslow has been a career entrepreneur for 30 years, with 15 years as a broker and investor in Manhattan real estate. He formed Niche Quest Media in 2006, an online lead generating agency specializing in search engine optimization. Ed, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Tim. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So what I'm going to talk about here is I'm going to take you through a series of steps. And we're going to start out with, basically how Google works. It's key to understand the foundation of Google and where Google came from. And Google is, they're really like they've mastered, the study of like human behavior. And they, their whole algorithm, the way that their computer system works, it's really based on the card catalog system in a library. And so if you look at, the way the card catalog system works is everything is organized by different categories. You could have science in one department, you could have history in another, you could have all kinds of different categories. And then within each category, you've got your card catalog and everything is put in its proper sequence. And that's really what Google is. Google is like a huge card catalog. And what you want to do is you want to, when you're creating, you can learn a lot by studying Google and understanding this base concept, because this is how people communicate. And it doesn't really matter whether it's online or offline. The more you can break your business down by all kinds of different niches, different services or different products within your business. And the same thing with when you're creating content, whether it's a blog post or it's a press release or it's social media posts, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, it doesn't really matter, YouTube videos. This model works for every business. And this is really the base of any successful business online today. Even the big companies, like if you look at some of the big websites, like a WebMD, for example, which is a huge health site, their business is based on one simple system, based on exactly what I'm talking about here today. And all they've done is they've replicated and they keep expanding it. And it's based on one simple thing that you can learn here today, and you can apply it to your own business. So, everything needs to be organized just like a library. And you look at the library here, this image here, you can see everything's got a spot. If you want to go find something, you know where to go. Or you can ask the librarian, and the librarian will say, okay, go down to, aisle 3 and, that kind of thing. But what you don't want to do is create confusion. If you've got piles of books that are not in the right spot and nobody can find them, then that confusion is created. And with Google, it really works the same way. You want to make sure that everything that you create is got its proper spot. Now, I'm just using a couple, images to sort of paint this picture because it's really so important. And as I go through this presentation today, we're just going to keep developing on this concept. But, like in a grocery store, so if you think about the grocery store, when you walk into the grocery store, same thing. It's based on the same system as the library, which is really based on the same system as Google. Everything's got its spot. Everything's based on relevance. Everything is in the right spot. So if you think in terms of how Google works, how the grocery store works, how the library works, and you apply it to your own business, you just start breaking everything down. Now, if you go look at like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, same thing. It's the same concept. Everything is based on the same system. So let's take that concept and let's sort of start to flush it out. This is sort of like a case study. So let's use insurance agency as an example. Okay, so insurance agencies, as any of you you've got insurance, you've got an insurance agent, and they insure homes, they insure cars, and they insure business. But that doesn't really convert all that well. It doesn't convert to sales, because that's what this is all about. We're talking about how to sell more stuff, whether it's your services or your products. And what really works is when you take this concept, let's say you're an insurance agency, and how do you compete with all the other insurance agencies? How do you stand out from everybody? How do you make your business more memorable? Because one of the things that, when you communicate with somebody, if you're communicating with the exact same message as your competitors, then you don't become memorable. And that means that you're going to have to market your business. You're going to have to contact more people and catch them when they're ready to buy, rather than creating a memorable business so that people, when they're ready to commit, they know to come back to you. So let's flush this out a little bit. Okay. So let's say, for example, within the home market, there's fine art insurance. So you could, if you're an insurance agent, instead of just talking about home, business, and car insurance, you could say, we also provide fine art insurance. Now, you can also create a page on your website about fine art. And if you follow a formula based on the top questions that people ask related to fine art insurance, the key bullet points, things like that, it's going to enable you to rank on Google pretty easily, because the competition is very, very low for these kind of topics, because most people don't know that they can do this or they should do this. But if you were, let's say, if you're an insurance agent and you want to target fine art insurance, and you happen to be in a local market, whether it's Greenwich or Ridgefield, Connecticut, or Westport or Norwalk, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in Fort Lauderdale or Miami or whatever, you have a really, really good chance of being able to rank this possibly right in the top without a lot of effort on Google. Now, a lot of people may not search this topic, but when they do, the conversion is really high. That's going to convert. This is almost like the last search somebody would do. So they're searching for, something related to insurance and their artwork. They land on your page, and instead of it being a list of fine art and all kinds of other things that you insure, if you create individual pages on your site, the conversion is going to increase. Now, you can take this concept and you can use this in a private meeting. It could be in a B&I group. It could be posting on your social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, or even creating a little video. And then when you start to match it with your town names, it gives you that edge. So this is how you can start to flush out your business model. And this is how you can start to apply it online. And it's really interesting the way this works, because the more content that you create like this on Google, more Google is going to see you as an authority. And over time, they're going to promote you and feature you on the rankings on Google, on the Google searches, more frequently than your competitors, because you're creating better content. So the same thing here, like you could break it down by antique insurance. Same concept as fine art. Now, the other thing about this is that this strategy, when you put this kind of strategy on your website, now again, this applies to every business. I just happen to be using the insurance market. I'm going to show you a couple other examples. And if we have time at the end, I'm going to run through a case study of a project and how we would analyze it and how you can do the same for your business. But what's really interesting about this is that, you know, if you look at like antique insurance, very, very specific, very, very memorable, versus house insurance, car insurance, or business insurance. You know, when you mention antiques, now, if any of you are members of BNI, BNI talks about this. When you, BNI, if you don't know how it works, let's say you have a local BNI chapter with 40 members, and each member is their own unique business. There are no competing businesses within each BNI group. And what they teach at BNI is that what converts is not standing up and saying, hey, I'm an insurance agent. Anybody looking for insurance, that'd be a great lead for me. Versus standing up and saying, hey, I'm Ed, and a great lead for me today would be somebody who is looking to insure their antiques. And then maybe next week you stand up and say, a great lead for me would be somebody who is looking to insure their fine art, right? This is how you build your business and how you build a memorable brand that people will talk about, because it's not just being found online, but you want to capitalize on building your brand so that people remember you, and it perpetuates the word of mouth. You can go into equine insurance. So again, what's interesting about this is that when you start to go after these kind of markets, your existing, if you're an insurance agent, your existing clientele, when they start to connect, these are called identification factors as well, because they relate to topics like this and images like this. And what happens is they remember you, but they also, a lot of these, you think about the fine art, antiques, equine, these are people that, they might socially hang out together, and they're going to remember you because of your niche, the niche targets, and they will refer you and they will talk about you. Same thing. Here's wine. Same thing. I mean, each one of these topics is it's its own unique market as well. So it's a way to flush out and find different markets with different people. But you can almost see that if you were an insurance agent, you could start to create a really very unique brand with a very, very unique message that is different and unique to all your competitors. Now, I'm going to keep going through this, but we'll keep building on this concept so you can see it. Let's look at in the auto market. For example, Tesla insurance. Tesla is okay, yeah, it's a car, but Tesla there's uniqueness to a Tesla. Tesla is not the same insurance as every other kind of car insurance. Tesla has, for example, think about batteries. If the batteries go in a Tesla, the cost of replacing the batteries could be $10,000. So that, you've got some other factors other than just car insurance. I think Tesla also, I think they're made out of aluminum. So they can be, I don't know if they still are, but they can be more expensive to insure than most cars, because when an aluminum gets damaged, it's more expensive. But this is a very unique market. So you could create a page on your website about Tesla insurance. That's very unique. Same thing with, Ferrari, for example. Ferraris are very different. But, again, if you start to go after this particular market, now, there happens to be, if any of you have ever watched like the Barrett Jackson Auto Auctions out in Vegas, one of the insurers is, I think it's like Haggerty or one of them. There's a number of these classic car insurance companies. And in the classic car market, there are thousands of different models. And there's all kinds of add-ons. So every car becomes unique. So when you start, so here's a whole nother market that you could cultivate. And it just becomes memorable. So if somebody wants to insure their Volkswagen or their Ford, well, they might remember you more so than any other insurance agent because you've stood out by talking about all these different kinds of cars. Again, this is how you start to build, flush out your brand. And I don't want to just focus on insurance here, but the concept is whatever business that you're in, you can use the same concept. You know, it's almost like all you really need to do is sit down there with a pad of paper and just start thinking about all the different products, thinking about all the different niches within your business. Think about who that customer is. You know, who is that customer? Because it's not one customer. There are many, many different profiles of consumer, and they all have a unique, you know, interest in themselves. And that's why this works, because you're really starting to flush out markets. Now, you know, you've got markets such as town names, you've got county names, you've got state names, so depending on who you're trying to reach. You've got all your different services, you've got all your different products, flush them out. You know, take home insurance, break it down. Take car insurance, break it down. Doesn't matter whether you're in the e-commerce business, you're a lawyer, you know, you're a roofer, you know, you have a bakery, you know, same concept over and over. You know, like a donut shop, you know, a bakery could really break it down. And there are all kinds of different donuts, there's different cakes, there's gluten-free, there's all kinds of things. So this strategy applies to every business over and over. Same thing here, like here's in the car market, there's the vintage car, race car market. You know, here I'm in Connecticut, I'm in Wilton, Connecticut, but if you've ever been up to Lime Rock up in, you know, the northern part of Connecticut, they have a racetrack up there. And there's all kinds of events going on all the time. There are people that, you know, take their cars. There's some people that like to, you know, you can buy a car and you can go up there and race it. Well, that person may have a very unique, you know, that person's looking for something very unique. They want to insure their race car. Or you may even have a very unique niche and desire, like, I need to get insurance I need to insure my nanny when she drives. So I might need insurance, auto insurance for nannies specifically. You know, and that's something that somebody might just go online and do a search for. Or maybe they tell their friends that, hey, this is something you need to be aware of. I know so-and-so, they do nanny insurance, you know, auto insurance. Again, you can flush it out like here's workers' compensation insurance. This is the business market. If you look here, these are different class codes. There are hundreds and hundreds of different class codes. Each class code is a different market. It's a different type of insurance. So again, just keep flushing this out. Each one of these topics on an online basis has probably no competition because there's very, very few people that are going to break down all these different class codes and turn it into a short little piece of content, you know, like a little blog or post it on your social media. And this starts to become memorable because now the consumer base doesn't think, oh, I just need business insurance. No, I need, like if you look at, you know, number one here is class code 0005. This is tree planting and reforestation and drivers in the landscape market. You know, lawn maintenance, different than tree planting. You know, road construction, tree pruning, all these very unique markets within the that business. So these are all the things, again, as I was talking about. Now, I'm going to use another example here. Business brokers. If you're, and I've done this for, you know, I work with a franchise, and it's a national franchise. They have hundreds of franchisees, business brokers on a nationwide basis. sort of like real estate brokers in a way, but in the business of selling businesses. And what does a business broker want? So this is how you would flush out. This is how, we help them flush out their business model. Is what they want is they want sellers. They want sellers that will hire them exclusively and they can promote the business for sale, because it's a lot easier getting control of it's a lot easier to get paid on doing a deal when you control the seller on a contractual basis, where there might be a lot of buyers that are coming and going all the time. So what did we do here? We broke it down by business type. Like, for example, here's a blog, 5 questions you should ask before selling a pet store. Now that is going to rank independently on Google of selling an auto detailing business. Now, same concept, same things you really need to know. You need to, have your, you need to have your financials. You need to do an audit on the value of your business. You have to have all your accounting papers. It's all basically the same over and over, but it's unique to each business. And so this becomes a strategy that you can replicate over and over without making a career out of trying to write these blogs. But again, if you were in the business broker business, if you were a business broker and you went to B&I, what you would do is you would stay up and say, hey, I'm Ed, I'm a business broker, and a great lead for me would be somebody who's looking to sell a pet store. Or next week it could be, hey, I'm Ed, I'm a business broker. A great lead for me this week would be somebody looking to sell their auto detailing business. And there are just hundreds and hundreds of businesses. So it makes it easy to create the content. And this is what people will remember. They won't remember that you're a business broker, but they'll remember all these niches within your business. And that's what converts. And that's why this whole, what I'm talking about here is it's an online and offline strategy. Now, here's another one. This is another example. Same exact strategy that I'm talking about here. With the insurance or the business broker. Here's a business model in the commercial office leasing market in New York City. So there's a company that I work with, and it's a company called Cogent Realty Advisors. It's a one-man operation. And when I started working with him, I said, okay, it's not the SEO, because he was looking for somebody to help him with his search engine optimization. I'm like, it's not the SEO that's the driver. It's the content and your strategy that drives the SEO. It's the other way around. And so what we did was we said, okay, how can I help you? And so what we did was we flushed out the office space market. And it's like, okay, office space for rent in New York City, very, very competitive. But that's not going to be memorable. So even if you rank number 1 on Google for office space for rent in NYC and you rank number 1, that is not going to be that memorable. But when you rank for office space by building, World Trade Center, Empire State Building, on and on and on. So what we did was we helped him create a strategy to write blogs on his website about each individual building, and each individual building became its own unique market. Every blog that he writes follows the exact same model. So we came up with one model for him to write blogs that he replicates over and over and over. And what's happened is over the years, when people go on his website and they're doing searches, because what people do in New York City, because think about how big some of these buildings are. Well, one of the things people are going to do is they might search office space or office space cost at a specific building as they're doing their research. And he's always coming up at the top higher than, he even ranks higher than the owner of the World Trade Center. I mean, it's a one-man show. He's ranking higher on Google. I mean, he ranks number 1. And he's ranking higher than the owner, Durst organization, I think it is, and it's a multi-billion-dollar building. So here's the reason I'm showing this is that anybody can do this. You just need to know how to go about it. It's really interesting. he gets a lot of word of mouth because people over the years have seen that he, they can go and see market reports on his website. They can find information on individual buildings, and he has become recognized as an authority. And it's been a life-changing experience for him. Here's another one, like, for example, here's an example, office space cost at the Empire State Building. And you can see that he ranks, he does rank number 2. Well, it's still pretty awesome. It's a big building. He gets a lot of interesting inquiries from this. Now, again, flushing it out a little bit more, just to give you more examples of how this works, is, this is a business. They're in the promotional products business. And so what we did was, how do they differentiate themselves from everybody else in the business that is in the, any promotional products company? And we're just sort of getting started with him, but look at the comparison between these two topics: top promotional product ideas for golf tournaments. The other one is for corporate events. So these are niches. And if you look at the blogs on this particular website, this is a franchisee out in California, you're going to see it's sort of the same blog structure over and over. And so that's where he starts to create that identity. Like, I've got unique products for golf tournaments. Well, so does everybody else, but he just happens to say it. Here's another little sample where what we did was a business in New York City that is in the virtual office business. One of the things that we know is that everybody wants to know is, how much does it cost? So in this case, we did a press release and we targeted virtual office costs in New York, NYC, and they ranked number 1. This press release went live in November of 2021. And here it is today, 6 months later, it's still number 1. And it's, it's helped them identify themselves as a cost leader in the cost market. And here's sort of what it looks like. So now that's one part of it. Okay, so the other part of it, I just wanted to show you this here too, is that this is, if you look in the lower right there, that's called a display ad. And the display ad, here's a sample of what it looked like when it appeared on the New York Post. And you can see best virtual offices, One World Trade Center. So what we're doing here is that, like, we're flushing out niches within their market, and we're promoting it in multi-channels. But one of the things that's really key to the success of any business is to have that message, break it down by niches so that your consumers remember who you are. But one thing here with these display ads is that you can put a pixel on your website that will track people that land on your website, and then these ads will follow them around. So this particular ad, being a retargeting ad, would only show in front of somebody who happened to be on the New York Post, who happens to be on the Surf Corp website. Not everybody is seeing this, only people that have been on the site. So this is a way to stay in touch in front of your audience over and over and over and over. And, it's really, when you do it right, you put it all together, broken down by niche, making yourself memorable, staying in front of your market over and over and over. You really are trading, you're really trading money in a way. It's like you're paying $1 and you're getting $10 back. So it's like you're trading money for more money. And that's really the way to look at this. Not so much as it is marketing, it's building your business model and promoting your brand, but this is really an investment vehicle. So there's 5 key points to align your business model, both online and offline. And, number 1, what are the niche markets within your business? And you can just start out very simple. This is nothing sophisticated. This is not high tech. This is something that anybody can do. And what are the niche markets within your business? Take your business and what are all the things that you do? What are all the services that, it's sort of like, ultimately we want to get as many, it's like if you were fishing, like a lot more effective to have 50 lines in the water than one. And that's what you can do by breaking your business down by niche, by niche, by niche, by niche. Don't assume that people know. Just because you're an insurance agent and you provide auto insurance, don't assume that a consumer knows that you can handle Tesla insurance. So how much is a customer worth to you? And this is something to, this is another thing to think about, because this is really, really key to your business model and how you apply it online, is how much is a customer worth to you? And I'll give you an example. There's a company that we're working with, and they're doing, we're working on a really, really big campaign for them. They're spending, they have a big budget for Google pay-per-click, their Google search. And what is a customer worth to them? So they're like an urgent care walk-in clinic. And if a customer comes in the door, let's say they click an ad and they come in the door, and let's say they make an appointment and they come in, and let's say that appointment is worth $100. It's $100. So the patient has to pay $100 to come in, and let's say it's $100. But what if that person comes in twice a year, and each time it's $100? So that's $200. What if they live locally in the area and they stay in the area for 10 years? Now that $200, it's not a $100 patient. They come in twice a year. Now you have a $200 patient. But if they come in 2 times a year for 10 years, that's a $2,000 patient. But what if they're a family of 4 and every family member comes in twice a year? So all of a sudden you're, 2,000 times 4, that ad created a patient whose lifetime value is now really $8,000. It's not a $100 person that walked in the door. It's the lifetime value in that case could be worth $8,000, not including anybody that they tell, their friends, other people in the community. So now if you build the business the right way, breaking everything down by niche, now you capitalize on the word of mouth. So you may have, that patient may have come in the door based on some kind of Google search or however they get there, whether it's a social media or something like that. But they see all these niches within your business, within an urgent care walk-in clinic that you can provide because you've demonstrated it on your website, not just by creating lists of things, but by creating, unique content. And what you're doing is you're perpetuating a lot of word of mouth. So that's how, that's one of the key things to understand here is that the internet, especially in local markets, so many people think it's all about the click, but it doesn't work that way, because what you're doing is you're marketing, you're staying out in front of people, you're building this memorable brand that creates trust, it builds your brand, and it's what people talk about. So now, what is your lifetime value? How much do you pay for those clicks? How much do you pay to get that patient? And how do you treat that patient? If you treat that patient as a lifetime customer versus a one-time patient, your revenues are going to be completely different. If you're a walk-in clinic and you're only treating that person as a one-time $100 patient, that's a lot different business model than that patient who could end up being worth $8,000 or many times that based on referrals. So again, to flush this out a little bit further, who is your customer? What is their profile? What is their avatar? Who are they? And by breaking down your business by niche, not only is it niche products and services, but you can start to flush out who is your customer. Now, going back to, what I've been through so far, talking about the insurance model, the real estate model, the business broker model, these are things that people start to remember and they will tell their friends. Other factors to keep in mind are where is your consumer located? Are they in a town, or is it, some people, sometimes you want to focus on specific towns. Could just be a county, could be state. Sometimes it's regional, sometimes it's national. But it's really important to understand this concept that, a lot of companies come to me and they want national exposure. And the internet has become so competitive on a national basis that the smart strategy is to start on local markets, start with your formula, and then replicate it over and over, just like you would naturally grow a business as a startup. The internet is sort of the same concept. But again, let's go back to the very, very beginning, where I talked about how this is all like, the library, the grocery store, the hardware store, same thing. Where is your customer located? And the key here is to stay in front of your audience over and over. So your business model needs to be right. Know who your customer is, know where they are, break your business down by niche, and then stay in front of them over and over and over. And there's a lot of ways to do that. You can, your blogs, your Google My Business and Maps, display ads. If you're going to do anything in social media, you got to be consistent. Just posting things inconsistently will not produce. And the more content you create, the more you stay in front of your target audience, the deeper the relationship is going to be that your market has with you. Okay, let's see. This is sort of the last thing. This is actually pretty interesting. This is something that I rebuilt my website this year, and was like, okay, how do I stand out from everybody else? Okay, there's a million SEO agencies out there. When I started in this business, there were none. Very, very few. In the local marketing business, there weren't any. So I had to sort of create something different that would make me stand out. And so what I really did was I sort of flushed out, what does SEO do? How does this whole thing really work? And so what I did was I came up with something very unique: branding and publicity SEO, because that's how this marketing works. Because really, to make your SEO work, to make your website work, to make your social media work, it really comes back down to your business model. You have to have a business model and align it the right way and create a message that people will remember. And what I did here was to validate this concept. What I did was I used a quote from Steve Forbes from Forbes magazine: "Your brand is the single most important investment you can make in your business." This is a tactic that anybody can use. You can just, whatever you want to talk about online, go online and do a search. And you're going to find all kinds of quotes from all kinds of, on many, many different topics about many different famous people, whether it's celebrities, and Hollywood people, politicians, actors, actresses, whatever. There's many ways to get these quotes, and you can use them to validate your message, your products. And this, I will tell you, this works really well. This is a great way to do it. And it's a lot more, there's a lot more credibility. You have a lot more credibility when like for me, if I say branding and publicity SEO is pretty awesome, well, there's a lot more, what Steve Forbes is doing in a way is he's validating what I just said. And he's a much more trustworthy brand than me. So that's about it. I'm here at, it's 12:40. If anybody has any questions, and you want to open it up to questions, fire away.
people may be having trouble with the chat feature. I'm not sure why, because there is no button that I can turn on chat. But anyways, if you have any questions, try the chat. If not, put it in the Q&A section. It just should be at the bottom of your screen. Thanks, Ed. That was great. Ed, a couple questions. BNI, what does that stand for again?
I think it's Business Networking International.
Okay, and there's chapters like
there's like I think there's I want to say there's maybe 1,800 chapters around the United States. And it's you know, if you're a local business, I've been a member of BNI. I was a member of the Stanford BNI. I was a member of the Darien BNI, and they meet every week. Great way to network with other businesses who can refer you business. That's the whole point of BNI. And you know, that's one of the things that they like. For example, if I you know, being a website builder or, you know, SEO agency, they wouldn't have another, and in each local BNI, they wouldn't have a competing website SEO company. They might have a graphics designer, you know, but they would have like maybe an insurance agent. They might have, you know, a lawyer. They might have a roofer. They might have, you know, a closet company, you know, a plumber, that kind of thing. And the idea is that everybody's got their uniqueness and everybody can refer business back and forth. But what makes it work, and they actually teach this in BNI, is that the more niche specific you can be when you know, the way it works is that, let's say you've got 40 members. Every week, each member gets to stand up and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and this is what I do, and a unique lead for me this week would be such and such. You know, like it could be, you know, great lead for me this week might be an insurance company that's looking to promote themselves and get more business. You know, that's a lot different than saying, hey, you know, great lead for me. The great lead for me this week would be any business that's looking to capitalize on the internet. You know, that doesn't convert. But when you start breaking it down by niche, and that's what they teach you, that's why this formula works. And that's how they work at BNI. Every person stands up and they give like maybe a 30 or 40 second, you know, let's say if you had 40 people, they might keep it to 30 seconds and they just go around the room. And that's how BNI works. So it's a networking group.
Got it. Carrie's asking, how frequently do you recommend adding content? I guess that's going back to your example of
you know, the more you know, the internet is content marketing. The more you do, the better the results. End of story. I mean, you have to think about your business model and what you're capable of writing. I mean, personally, I wish I was posting something every day. You know, I wish I was posting 5 times a day because my traffic would be so much greater. The only issue is that if I was posting every day or 5 times a day, I don't think I couldn't handle the leads. I wouldn't be able to handle the volume of inquiries that come in. You know, and I certainly don't post enough, but I would recommend, depending on, it really depends on your business. Do you have a business where you've already got the support network? You know, are you selling like an e-commerce product where people are coming onto your site and they're buying without you having to speak to them or interact with them? You know, if that was the case, if you built that kind of business, I would say that you would want to be posting as much as you possibly can, because the more content that you create, now that's all keyword driven, and there are ways to create content that is very unique over and over. But I would say, you know, the answer to your question is, you know, if you could do something at least once a week and be patient, that's fantastic. If you could do something every day, that's even more fantastic. So the more you can do, the better. The less you do, it's like cold calling. Like if you're cold calling, you know, think about it. If you cold call, I don't know if anybody cold calls anymore, but if you cold call every single day and you stick with it and you're calling the same people over and over, you're going to continue to get business. But as soon as you stop that cold calling because you're getting business and you're getting really busy and you don't have time to cold call, or you don't want to, eventually that pipeline of business is going to start to dry out. And the internet is the same thing. And, that's part of the reason why when I, led in today, I talked about how, the internet is sort of like a card catalog system. The internet is really a mirror of real life. It's, I think if you look at it from that perspective, it keeps it real simple.
Right, right. Crystal's asking, do you have a blog or a website with all these helpful tips so they can follow along?
Yeah, I do. Nichequest.com is my website.
Okay.
And I do have a lot of information on there. I do need to update it more frequently. But what you'll see is when you start to look at the content, I'm sort of saying the same thing over and over in different ways. I apply it to different businesses. So it's really, there's nothing really unique about this. This is a, the uniqueness is that I know how to do it. Anybody can really follow the plan.
Right, right. Yeah, so many people we work with, just starting out, very often one thing they'll ask is, what do I do first? What's the most important thing? What's the first thing I should be doing here with all this information?
Yeah, the website is not your first step, or is your social media site. The real first step, goes right back here. And this is not, don't make this complicated. It doesn't have to be that complicated. These 5 points are probably your most important thing. And the first one, the starting point, number one, what are the niche markets within your business? And what you can do is start writing them down. I mean, I'm a little old school. I get out a pen and paper and a pad and just write them down. One piece of paper, one pen, that's all you need. Start writing it down. If you need a little assistance to start to think about what are the niche markets within your business, one of the things that I'll do, which is really effective, very overlooked, simple strategy, is to go on Google, do a search for whatever it is that you're thinking about. And then you can look and see what is being said on that page. This is your best keyword tool, is what's already ranking. But the other part is to go over and click on images. If you look at the very top, there might be news, there's images, things like that on Google. Click over to images and look at Google Images. And you can see also on the top under images, there's all these little categories. So now that's almost like a niche helper. That's like your niche pal. And you can actually get deeper and deeper into this by doing more and more deeper searches. But that's where I would start. One pad of paper, go to Google, type in whatever the keyword phrase is that you're thinking about, look at what's on the page, use that as a guide, go over and look at the images. Look at what the images look like, look at the ones, look at the images, look at the categories at the very top. That's step one. Then once you start to write that down, then the next step is, what does a customer worth to you? Is a customer like the urgent care, is it $100? Or is it really $10,000? Or is it more? You think about a family that could, one person who comes into the urgent care could be worth $100 one time, twice it's $200. They come in twice a year for 10 years, that's $2,000. But if they have a family of 4, that's $8,000. What if over that period of time, they tell 10 friends with the same scenario? Now, all of a sudden, that $100 client is really, the lifetime value of that client is worth $80,000. So really, really key to understand who your client is and what they're worth. And then, right, the other part is, this is step 3. Who is your customer? What is their profile avatar? And this is really the key to the whole thing, because you really need to think about how much business can you handle. One of the biggest mistakes I think every single one of us makes is that we try and go after too much. And a lot of times you're better off to go start small, be patient, get things working, and then expand. And at every level of the development of your business, no matter whether you're starting out as a solopreneur or you're building a business and now you have 5 people working for you, you're going to run into the same problems with 5 people as when you started with 1. If you expand to 50 people, you're going to have the same problems as when you had 5. What is your business model? How much can you handle? How much is that client worth? I mean, these are the key. What are the niches? That is the key. If you can stay focused on that concept, like you'll win. You will succeed.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah. A lot of people will say, yeah, I'll sell to anybody. But I mean, in reality, you have to know whether your customer is a Facebook person or are they a TikTok person or a Pinterest.
Yeah, that it's sort of like, if you want to go start to run, you want to get in shape and you want to run, if you go out and say, okay, I'm going to start running 5 miles a day, it's not going to take very long before you quit. But if you start out and say, well, and I'm going to walk a mile 3 times a week, and you do that for a month, well, a month from now, you might still be sticking with it and say, well, you know what, I'm going to do my 1 mile walk 6 times a week. And if you build that way, the biggest I know that, like, I make this mistake every day myself, and it's really hard to not want more and to think that you need to go after this bigger audience. But a lot of times you're better off to go deep into a smaller area than to go big. Right. Until you can handle
it. Yep. One person wanted you to repeat your website name.
Oh, it's Niche Quest. Yeah, let me just go right here. You can see it's Niche Quest, but it's niche. This is nichequest.com.
Got it.
You can also find me on Facebook too.
Yep. Okay. Steffi's also asking, can you over diversify so that you dilute your niche too much when people don't know what you really do? You can. And it really goes back to your business model. You really need to think about that's a tough question. I'm actually starting to work with a company that's in the private funding business. They fund like single family home flippers. And, I was, thinking about what is their strategy. And there's a lot of things you can talk about in the private funding business, especially for a company that's going nationwide. But one of the very simple things to do for a business like that is because they're providing funding to so many different investors all over the country, a real simple model for them to replicate over and over is just to create case studies, right? Take case studies, before and after, exterior, interior, and then break it down into a simple format that you can replicate over and over. They have so many projects they're lending money on. If they were to just follow that system and create case studies over and over and over and over, and you can optimize them by town, county, state, right? That is a big company that has a very simple system. Now they could create market reports too to accent that as well, to bring more people in. So you're talking about markets, you're talking about before and after. But if they were to stay focused on that, that really is the only business model that they need. The more they diversify and deviate from that, the more that they are going to dilute their message. And that, really, you want to stay true to your brand. Like if you look at any company out there that's successful. I mean, look at Elon Musk. I mean, you think about Elon Musk, what is he? Tesla cars. I mean, it's like, what he's all about. Everybody that, like Michael Jordan, basketball player, he was a forward for the Chicago Bulls. Tom Brady is a quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I guess. Tiger Woods plays golf. Home Depot's in the
home improvement market. Starbucks makes expensive lattes. You know, it's you really want to define that brand and, you know, look at some of these bigger companies and see what they're doing. And you can see that, you know, a lot of them stay very, very true to their core message.
Right. There's another question. It's somewhat related to the first one, actually. She's just commenting that there's such a fear to niching down the scarcity factor or ruling out potential clients. So how do you address that kind of a mindset, I guess?
Yeah, I know. I know we see the problem with that is that if you go too broad, you dilute your message. You know, and you know, like for example, if you look here at branding and publicity SEO, this would be a lot more effective if it was branding and SEO for, I don't know, dentists. You know, that would be much more specific. And, you know, for me to say, okay, I'm going to eliminate everybody else and I'm just going to go after dentists, that's a little scary because I feel like I've got to open it up to the world. But imagine, you know, having, you know, for what I do, you know, if I have 100 dentists or 200 dentists and that's all I did, and I provide branding and publicity SEO for them, that's an awesome business. So I understand what you're saying. That's a hard thing to do, but
Great.
The niching down does work. They you know, what do they say? The riches are in the niches, right?
Very good. That's all the time we have for questions. Again, SCORE offers free individual mentoring, so please use the link on the screen. Well, it's not there yet. Or go to our website, request a mentor. For information about other SCORE webinars and workshops, please visit the calendar on our website at fairfieldcounty.score.org. You're going to receive an evaluation form via email for today's webinar. We'd appreciate it if you'd fill it out for us. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, so we can improve our program in the future. On behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's live webinar. In closing, a big thank you to Ed Winslow for presenting today. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thanks, Tim. And thanks everybody for spending your time.